shared spiritual awakening. Let's do that one more time. A world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Sometimes it happens that we're pressing a button and nothing outward happens. That's life, right? So I'll ask Peggy if she can move the slide. Connected with our vision, and our mission is to co-create with Spirit to transform lives through shared spiritual awakening. And the key word is co-create. We don't do it by ourselves. We do it together, and we do it with Spirit, transforming lives. All right, Peggy, I'm going to have to rely on you just to move the slides. Part of our mission is to let go of our egos, our beliefs, and our fears. Those are what separate us. And instead, to be a loving presence in the world, a loving presence that invites spiritual learning.
Peggy, share screen.
This is really good for all of us because it's an exercise in patience. And how do we promote self-expression? We start with a healthy regard for ourselves. We call that self-love, and we know it has nothing to do with vanity and everything to do with believing that each of us is worthy, an expression of divine spirit in the world. And once we live that, we're aware of it, we're able to better express ourselves in the world. We have 5 principles at Unity of London, and they are: God is everywhere present. 24 hours a day, God is within us and all around us. We also believe that we are divine presence in the world, that each of us is a loving awareness of divine spirit. We create the lives we want by what we think and by what we do. What we think and what we do. We pray at Unity, affirming that all is well, releasing what is not working. And by affirming what is well, we're not denying the reality that sometimes things go wrong. What we're saying instead is that we're choosing to be positive beings, living in divine presence. We live love. We live the message of unity. And that's exciting. I hope it brings a smile to your face and laughter every day. We are the change. And how can we be the change? By being peacekeepers, by spreading the word, by being teachers by how we act and how we live. We coexist. We provide learning and education for anybody who's looking for it. And you might think, well, I'm not a teacher. I'm not up there in the platform. You don't have to be. You're a teacher and a leader just by being who you are. And you never know who might be observing you, being part of your loving atmosphere. You might give a smile, be generous. That's all part of coexisting with all the different people that we saw at that beautiful song at the beginning. We do have special announcements. Lorraine, our board president, whose voice you heard throughout the song, cares about us. She's traveling, but she does make time to send announcements. We have some exciting events coming up. And there was an event going on out here in the fellowship just before service began, led by Lindsay Wilson. And I know there were several people who were not greeting or weren't in here who were part of that group, called Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. If you were there, just say a big rousing, yay. Oh, that doesn't sound very yay to me. I'm glad you were there, and I'm sure Lindsay appreciated your presence. November 11th, it is the Day of Remembrance, and the date was chosen. You can see little poppies on the top. In the back of your mind, you can remember all those who made our world a better place. And we're going to make this place a rollicking place with a dinner dance. Only $35 a person. And it's music from the 40s, honoring World War II. Bring costumes, wear 40s dress. You can see some examples of women in the way that they dressed then, the way men dressed then. And the food will be provided by all of our members at Unity. That includes you, all of you. And we're not leaving it just up to one or two people. So Renee, who will be coming up later to collect our tithes, will be coming up, and she has a sheet of paper. I know about that paper because I saw it last week. And she'll invite you, if you want, to just write down something you'd like to bring, that you would like to share. And all of you have delicious recipes, and that will make it just more fun. There is also an Amber knows all about this because she's organizing it, a silent auction. And we've been seeing all kinds of delightful goodies come in the door, people's treasures, and they may become your treasures. And Amber, if you just put your hand up, Amber will be in the fellowship room. And if you want more details, just see Amber following our service. If you love to sing, if you'd love to be part of karaoke, find someone to do a karaoke song with you. And that will be part of the fun too. Jim Chapman will be back on the first Sunday of every month. He comes in his truck with all of his musical gear, and he brings it all up here. He's a wonderful singer and musician and songwriter. That's the first Sunday of every month. And today you can pray with the prayer chaplain. Dawn is here. I'm here. Wilda will be online. And that will be following our service. This is a new song for us. So there will be lyrics, and join in if you want.
Do you ever wonder why you're here? Day to day living here to you. There's gotta be a purpose, a reason for life. And if there's got to be something you got to get right. Evolution is calling your name. There's something greater than the same old same. There's got to be a dream or two. There's got to be a little light in you. There's got to be a little hotter fire. There's got to be something your heart desires. It's time to be all you can be. The sky's the limit to your destiny. Don't tell me stories about your fear and doubt, about the gifts that you were born without. You've got everything you need to succeed. You've got unlimited creativity. So don't give up on your dreams, 'cause you can create a new reality. You can create a great reality. You can create a new reality.
You can create a new reality. I'd love to hear your impressions following service about that song and the lyrics. We have a prayer chest at the front of the room. It's a big wooden carved chest. And we invite you, if you have someone that you have in your heart that you want to hold prayer for, to just write the name of that person, put it on a paper, put it into the chest. Dawn collects all of the contents of the chest at the end of each month. And then she provides those names to our prayer chaplains, including myself, Sylvia, and Wilda. And we pray over those names, and then they are sent on to Silent Unity. Silent Unity exists and has existed since 1891. I'm trying to remember because I studied all this for a test, but for a long, long time. And it still exists. And there are people who volunteer, they're trained, they go in, they're on the phone 24 hours a day. And sometimes people feel stressed in the middle of the night. If that's you, or worried, or something's on your mind, you pick up the phone, 1-800-NOW-PRAY. Everything you pray about is kept in confidence. And the person will answer and say, how can I pray with you? It's a wonderful, wonderful service.
Minimum.
And with that said, whatever that message was, maybe somebody praying out loud, let us go into prayer. If you feel comfortable, please close your eyes.
How can I get up?
If not, just relax into your chair. We breathe in and breathe out our awareness of the ever presence of God within, divine presence. And in this moment of prayer, we hold in prayer all of our loved ones. I also ask you to hold in prayer the 11 other LUT candidates, including myself, who will be presenting mini classes for the next 4 days, beginning on Monday. We also hold in prayer Unity of Vancouver and Unity of York Region Study Group. We hold in prayer all the people all over the world, all backgrounds, all ages, all nationalities who may be suffering from the effects of war. May they feel comforted knowing that people care. May their rescuers, those who are sending food, provisions, medical help, feel strong, courageous, and wise in their decision making. We hold in prayer all of our loving Unity of London members, all Unity members throughout the world, all spiritual faiths, all denominations who may be in their churches, their mosques, their prayer places right now. We remember that we are unity. We are about caring for all, loving all. And it's our love and our peace that we send into this world that does indeed make a difference. I invite you to take a moment now to whisper the names of those close to your hearts. We are grateful for our opportunity to affirm our prayers and hold in gratitude all answered prayers. Amen. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce our platform assistant for today, Don Briglio.
Thank you, Pauline. Today's daily word is grace. I walk in grace and peace today. I give thanks for the activity of God in my life that appears as grace. The divine gift manifests as the beauty of the world and the people in it, and as the comforting presence of God within and around me each day. I do not have to do anything to earn grace because it does not result from my attitude or actions. It flows from the infinite love of God within every person and surrounds every circumstance. It is the indwelling presence that sustains me in challenging times, and it lifts me in good times. I accept grace with gratitude when I have stumbled along life's path and received unperceived and unexpected blessings. The boundless love fills my heart with bliss and peace. I live in the presence of infinite love, believing each unfolding event in my life is leading me to my highest good. My grace is sufficient for you, is written in 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today, Tony Orvidas. Tony is a lifelong student, as we know, and teacher of spirituality, metaphysics, and abundance manifestation, an experienced mentor, speaker, and trainer, and the author of Using the Law of Attraction. I was just saying to Tony, I want to get a copy of that. I should read that. Tony has been a member of Unity of London since 2012 and is a past president of our board of directors. With his message today, the incredible light of being. Please join with me in welcoming Tony Orvidas.
Thank you, Don. Can you hear me okay? Okay, let's see if it's working. Fantastic. Okay, so as you know, the title for today's presentation is The Incredible Lightness of Being. Now, much what I'll be sharing with you this morning comes from a little book that's called The Incredible Lightness of Being. Ways to Stay Lighthearted When Life Feels Heavy by Cami J. Davis. Now, let me start by telling you a little story about how I ended up reading this book. I asked my wife, Bonnie, to order a book for me called The Unbearable Lightness of Being, since she was ordering a bunch of books from Chapters Indigo at that time. She and I had received a Chapters gift card from my youngest daughter for dog sitting in her mutt while she and her family were at a summer cottage with the in-laws. So you see, I ended up with the wrong book. Rather than sending it back, I figured I'd read it because sometimes things cross your desk, come into your life for a particular purpose when you least expect them and end up being a great lesson for you. Some people call it serendipity. Anyway, as I was reading Cami's book, I thought some of the contents would make an excellent message to be shared at a Sunday service here at Unity. And I sincerely hope that you agree with me. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the author, Cami Davis. She describes herself on the back cover of her self-published book as, okay, when I raise my hand, if you could just switch the slides, describes herself as a God-fearing, Israel-loving, New York Yankees obsessed Texan who also loves to write. Interesting, eh? Based on that self-description, she and I would not necessarily seem to have that much in common. You see, I am not God-fearing. To me, God, source, higher power, or whatever you want to call spirit, is not a vengeful, angry, judgmental, and threatening entity that I need to fear, but more like a loving, caring, and understanding parental energy. Unlike Cami, whose God is outside of herself, I believe, as Unity does, that I am part of God. God's everywhere and always present in every circumstance. This divine energy underlies and animates all of existence, and that includes you and me. Now, while admittedly have a Jewish son-in-law, I do not love Israel or Palestine any more than I love Canada, where I live, Great Britain, where I was born, Lithuania, from whence my parents immigrated, or any other country, culture, or religion. I'm also not a New York Yankees fan. I prefer the Jays. But then again, I rarely, if ever, watch sports because I prefer to spend my time doing other things. I'm not a Texan. I'm an Ontarian, Canadian. I'm also not a rabid Republican conspiracy theorist, nor am I a card-carrying member of the National Rifle Association. But I suspect Cami probably isn't either. What Cami and I have in common is that we both love to write. I also love to read and to public speak. Another thing Cami and I agree on is that it's important to stay as lighthearted as possible, given that life can certainly feel heavy at times. So let me walk with you through some of the more interesting and inspirational pathways of this book. I hope you enjoy the short hike. Cami begins her little tome by telling us that the contents are not the ultimate answer, nor are they the comprehensive instructions on how to maintain lightheartedness in this world that sometimes feels really heavy. Instead, the book contains a few articles of faith, mindsets, and life lessons that help her feel lighthearted and maintain happiness and peace. And she hopes that she can help you have them as well. She hopes this book will be a springboard that propels you to take deliberate actions to be lighthearted. She hopes it will remind you that your inner life is key to your outer life, the way it looks and feels. That will remind you to better care for and feed your soul, and that it will help you come out from under heaviness to stop being buried under life's pressures. Some of you just need a good dusting off, she tells us. Others need help being pulled out of an early grave to avoid being buried alive. Cami expects that her book will, in essence, help you remember what you already know. And that is based on the doctrine of innatism. Now, what is it? Well, it's a Platonic principle which states that we are born with the possession of a certain amount of knowledge versus the doctrine of tabula rasa, which states that we are born as a clean slate with no built-in content. The innatism principle of recollection states that we are born possessing all knowledge deep within ourselves, and our quest in life is to discover that knowledge again. Cami believes that we innately know everything we need to know, and that our task is to remember this everything. And she sees her task as helping us do it. Now, we are incredible beings living in an incredible world, right? Sometimes, however, many of us feel anything but incredible, and life feels heavy, oppressive. Does it for you? Does for me sometimes. Well, then what can we do to remain lighthearted when life feels ponderous, burdensome? Is it even possible in this day and age to have a heart radiating with light? To have and to maintain happiness, peace? Many people admit that they're struggling mightily to maintain faith, optimism, a positive outlook. So is abnormal heaviness becoming the new normal? What do you think? I don't think so. We live in a unique time in history, at least in some respects. Life now, as it has been in the past, is rife with pain, tragedy, due to wars, economic crises, corrupt governments and religious systems, pandemics, plagues, poverty, famine, natural disasters. The difference nowadays, however, is that we have access to an enormous amount of information on the internet. Now, it may seem that this easy access is an amazing life-enhancing gift, but it's also a source of constant negativity, which can lead to stress, sadness, depression, fatalism. We barely have time to mourn one or even process that tragedy before we hear of another one that's occurred. This adds to our confusion, our fear, our uncertainty. And sometimes this heaviness of life simply seems overwhelming, doesn't it? But life doesn't have to feel or be paralyzing or devastating. It can abound with happiness and peace. We can be consistently lighthearted. But to do so, we must employ deliberate actions to feel that way. We need to co-create them. We have to work at being lighthearted, peaceful, happy, to remain cool, calm, collected. Now, working at maintaining lightheartedness is akin to being a good athlete, one who is dedicated to his or her sport and spent copious amounts of time practicing. Cami and I believe that many of us have developed patterns of negative reactions to the events in our lives. To get into the zone of being lighthearted and to stay there most of the time requires dedicated work to replace those negative patterns with positive energy, positive emotions, positive actions, faith. She suggests that by creating lightheartedness in our own lives, we in turn will affect everyone around us and literally make the entire world a lighter place. Sound reasonable? Now, the first and foremost thing we have to do is love ourselves. Pauline talked about that earlier in the lesson today. Because if you don't love yourself, it's impossible to love others in a healthy way. And this love of self and others is a key to being lighthearted. Now, are you judgmental? If he answered yes, and I admit I did, you really don't love yourself very much. Because at the root of judging oneself is judgment of others and vice versa. It's an outward manifestation of how you feel about yourself. If you're lighthearted and non-judgmental, you're a lover of self. Remember, you are a divine creation and an extension of Source. You're a temple, a dwelling place, a unique expression of Spirit, of God. When you say namaste to another being, it's a beautiful example of seeing spirit in others and treating them as such. By acknowledging the light in each other, we honor and recognize the worth of all of us. We're all interconnected as God particles. As Unity Church tells us, we are all God. Human beings are innately good because they are connected to and an expression of spirit. As we heard today in the daily word reading by Don, God is within every person and surrounding every circumstance. Cami recounts a brief conversation. She called it Total Recall of Your Beautiful Self. She had this conversation with a female friend of hers. She told this friend the following, and I think it applies to each one of us, you and me. And this is basically what she said. You are light, pure, unadulterated light. No, really, that is your essence. The sun is jealous of your radiance. You are that powerful when you let yourself be. It's time to pull up the drawstring, lifting the curtains from windows of your soul. People miss seeing that light, but most of all, you miss shining. You are full of exceptionally large amounts of energy and light. It's time again to be that radiant being that you are. Most of all, you're beautiful. Oh, I know, you feel like a shapeshifter when you look at yourself in the mirror. Time and gravity have a way of changing things. But I wish you could focus on the heart beating behind those non-perfect breasts. That heart doesn't just keep blood flowing through your body, it keeps love pulsating throughout your world, touching all those that you encounter. I wish you could focus on the strong core housed behind that muffin top bulge. That core causes you to stand strong in the face of adversity. I wish you could focus on all the things, both physically and metaphorically, your cellulite-laden legs carry. I wish you could focus on every second of joy that caused the laugh lines and every second of worried suspension that you survived that caused the forehead creases. I wish you could remember that your body is a walking universe, rivaling the wonders captured by the Hubble telescope. More than your physical beauty, though, is the beauty of your soul. The soul that offers an expansive, loving acceptance of others. The soul who hurts when others hurt and feels the heaviness of not always having the needed solutions. The soul who heals with words and hugs. The soul who thinks the best about other people and who wholeheartedly believes in their potential. The soul who would never want others to look at ourselves the way you more often than not look at yourself. The soul who wants everyone else to know how lovely he or she is. The soul who recognizes and sees the loveliness in others, but forgets it's her own loveliness that she's projecting on everyone else. Would you please remember that if you don't remember anything else I've said, she said. You are so very lovely. Please believe that with a ferocious, ferocious intensity. My dear friend, the sum of all that you are is precious and perfect, and I hope that all I've said will remind you of that. I hope the words will cause you to both inwardly and outwardly give yourself a long overdue benediction of love and acceptance. Why not consume yourself with self-love like you consume everything else with your beautiful love? Why not? So said Cami. Beautifully phrased, eh? By the way, guess who was the friend to whom Cami was talking? It was her own image, her own reflection in the mirror. Neat self-talk, wasn't it? Now, do you love your neighbor as yourself? That's a basic tenet of life, isn't it? Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, according to the New Testament, Jesus of Nazareth said that to the chief priests, the experts in law, and the elders in the temple when he was questioned about the most important commandment. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, wrote in his metaphysical Bible, "Make love the basis of all our relations, especially our relations with the persons and the things that are nearest to us, that is, our neighbor. In this way, we shall fulfill the law of God and demonstrate divine harmony within and without." As Mr. Rogers often said, please, won't you be my neighbor? So, we must love others the way we love ourselves. That's why self-love is so important. It will change everything in your life and in the lives of others. Now, how should we love ourselves? Cami tells us that in his short book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, Kamal Ravikant, author, investor, and entrepreneur, explained it all. This is what he said. The truth is to love yourself with the same intensity you would use to pull yourself up if you were hanging off a cliff with your fingertips, as if your life depended on it. Because all of life does indeed depend on love, doesn't it? As she ends her book, Cami writes, keep holding on during those moments when you feel heaviness instead of lightheartedness. You are on earth at this very moment for a reason. And if all those who have gone before us could tell us something, this is what they would say. Don't give up. Don't stay down. Get up. Always get up. There is too much to do. You're almost finished, but you've got to do your part right to the very end. When you feel heaviness, think of it as all of our hands on your shoulders, not to push you down, but to help square your shoulders as we look you in the eyes and say, you've got this. Don't you dare quit. You feel us. You feel the expectations, hopes, and desires of all who have gone before you. And deep down, you know that the work we did won't be complete unless you do your part too. Your love, your trust, your work, your persistence, your faith, your connection to God, your healing, your kindness, your happiness, it is all so vital. It's all so necessary. Lastly, don't forget to smile and laugh. Every once in a while, tilt your head back to the sky and laugh at the wonderment and strangeness of this journey you're on. Predict the future with your laughter. Predict it's all going to be okay. In fact, better than okay. It's going to be better than you could ever think or imagine. Wow, what a message, eh? Let's conclude today's presentation with another little bit from Candy. While writing about authors who have influenced her, she tells us that another really good writer once shared with her this message. Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. Commencing countdown. Engines on. Check ignition. And may God's love be with you. And with that space oddity reference, let's go into meditation. The guided portion is based on a reading from The Incredible Lightness of Being. Let my words be yours. I sit comfortably and settle in. I focus on my breath, close my eyes. As I breathe in, I am present with breathing in. And as I breathe out, I'm present with breathing out. I acknowledge any distracting thoughts and emotions as they arise. I let them go and return to connecting with my breath. I open my heart in the deepest way to receive God's unconditional love, leading me to loving myself unconditionally. I redeem all the time I have wasted questioning the love of Source. I replace my skepticism and uncertainty with childlike acceptance. I heal any words induced by not receiving enough love or perceiving lack of love. I replace them with new life coming forth from all areas of my being, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Bottom line, I am overwhelmed with love, causing my heart to radiate with light. I relax and sit with that for a few more moments. I gradually come back to my world of earthly delights. to my incredible lightness of being, secure in the knowledge that all is as it should be, as I co-created it. And so it is. Amen.
I hope that left you feeling as uplifted as it did me. What a wonderful message, Tony. And your voice is like the voice of God. This low, rich, deep voice, sharing a beautiful message. And thank you so much for sharing. And now we have a song.
Standing at the edge of a life unknown, afraid to step forward, can't see what's below. I've come so far to the top of this hill. Don't wanna go backward, I refuse to stand still. Faith is growing, I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing and I don't know how. Wanna keep going, can't just sit here and try. Taking the leap, I'm gonna learn how to fly. But life was a lesson like the in school, where I would be safe if I played by the rules. In the blink of an eye, the whole world can change. No, nothing's familiar, no sure thing remains. I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing, and I don't know what to keep going. The city is taking me from going to learn how to fly. I'm so faith is knowing I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing, and I don't know why. Wanna keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. Taking the leap, I'm gonna run my I've got to keep going, and the life isn't flowing. I don't know why. Wanna keep going, can't just sit here and cry. Taking the leap, I'm gonna learn how to fly. I'm gonna learn how to fly.
Guess you like that song. That will be a keeper then. It's time for us to consider returning to Unity of London some of our treasure. And Renee and Kate will be coming up with little purple bags. We know that donating to the church or the spiritual group that sustains us is not just about money. It's also about our talent and our time. And I invite you to really take a look this week and consider how you might be helping Unity of London by sharing your time and talent. Many of you already do that. Peggy and Ed back there certainly were doing mammoth duty today on the soundboard and the visual. And those who create all the goodies in the fellowship room do that every week for us. We are grateful. We're also grateful to you. And we join now in our prayer of gratitude. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. The next affirmations are ones that we say every Sunday, and I invite you to join in. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And at Unity of London, we say, yay, God. And now I invite you to join in a circle as we sing our closing song. And as before, we know that maybe your greatest urge right now is to chat with people beside you. I'm inviting you instead, if you really, really have